Welcome into King Whale's album review party. We are going live for the first time. We haven't done it like this before, so it's really exciting to try to navigate this while we discuss one of our an album that we've been checking out. So bear with us. This is our first time trying it this way, but I'm gonna try to be able to navigate. So if you have any thoughts on us discussing this album, if you've heard it before or anything like that, feel free to chime in, and we will be able to talk to you guys at the same time. So first of all, how you doing, Ty? How's your life been? How's everything?
Everything is great. Now
Everything
that
is great.
now that Charlie XCX dropped another album, life is good once more.
I should probably specify. So yeah, the album that we are doing today is Charlie XCX's Brat, which, if you know me, you know that this was a different choice for me because I don't really, not that I don't do like electro pop or dance music, but that's not really what I'm known for or what I'm known for listening to.
Mhm.
So this is kind of unique in that sense. So first, let's just dive right in. So, what did you think about this album?
Um, in short, I love it. I this is a generational album. This is easily going to be a contender for my favorite of the year. I can't
Oh,
imagine
okay.
much coming out to top this for me. To put it into perspective, for these videos, I'll re-listen to an album, like I'll listen to it and I'll probably listen to it again like once more just to finalize like my thoughts for the purpose of this. I have probably listened to Brat at least 12 times front to back,
Wow.
if not more. I'm kind of obsessed. I'm
What?
obsessed with it. And this is what it was like in 2019 when she dropped Charlie. I
Uh-huh.
was obsessed with that album. I listened to it front to back so many times. All the hits like the singles like 1999 has been permanently ingrained or engraved on my brain, and I
Mm-hmm.
think this album in many ways could probably top it for me, um of
Wow.
her own works. Like this is something that I think is really special, and I think it's going to stand the test of time for a very very long time.
Because I remember you mentioning that Brat was like not that Charlie almost made it into your top 10 when we did our top 10 albums of all time.
Hmm.
And so to hear that Brat might have leapfrogged it, that's very interesting.
it's it's she's I think she is the best voice in pop. I think she is the best pop artist
Okay.
out right now. Um, and I think she takes the space and she plays with it so much that it is like I look so forward to everything that she comes out with. Like she knows how to capture a vibe really well. And I think on this album she proves that she can have really really good emotional range from tracks.
Hmm.
This album almost has whiplash going from tracks that are very personal to then absolute club bangers that you cannot help but dance to.
Yeah. You feel
And
yourself like dancing, like, I just want to rewind.
exactly. And I think like I think it takes a lot of skill to be able to go from one to the other and then back and not have it feel like, whoa, hey, we're just gonna tonal shift like that. And I think it's because like in some of the instrumentation that she has on some of her more, emotionally peaked songs, I think it still matches to where almost like it took a second or third listen for me to like, oh, is she really talking about this on this track? I just thought this was kind of a bop. And
Yeah.
and it took listening to it again. It was almost like deceptive, like she snuck it in. Uh,
Hmm.
but being able to listen to it and catching things on further listens, it really feels like just a master at work.
Wow. Wow. So what are some of the standout tracks for you on this master at work of an album?
Um, I think the couple that I've been absolutely obsessed with, probably, I mean, the titular, the 360, the opening, the single is really good, along with the other single, Von Dutch. Those are fantastic. I really love Everything is Romantic. So I is one of those emotionally peaked songs. Girl So Confusing, both the original and then the remix that she dropped as a single later with featuring Lord, was really, really good.
Hmm.
Um, B2B is so catchy. I've had back to back, like she says back so much in that song that it loses all meaning. But the rhythm of back to back is it just like 1999. It is permanently engraved on my brain.
Uh-huh.
The back to back to back to back.
Back to
Oh,
back.
it's
Yeah.
it's permanently in there. I'm looking at the track list right now, and there's honestly, like, I feel like I could say every one of them. Like, I feel like I
Every
could
single
say
one.
every track. There's not a single one on here that I feel is weak or doesn't belong, or even ones that I would say like, oh, I really didn't care for it. There are some that took a little longer to grow on me, like club classics I didn't love on my very first listen, but I
Hmm.
have since really grown into.
Yeah.
So how about you? Do you have any standout tracks that you liked? Well, what are your thoughts?
So again, I feel like almost unqualified to talk on this album because I feel like I don't know the genre of electro dance, electro pop well enough to like really give like a thorough opinion. Like, if we're talking about if we're talking about Lupe Fiasco Samurai, which just came out, or
Mhm.
anything like that, I'll go for hours because that's what I know. And
Right.
this, definitely had to break out of the comfort zone a little bit. But I know I do like pop, and ever since I got I don't think it's partly from me getting married, but I have like branded into more pop music and pop artists. Like I really
Hmm.
like Chelsea Cutler. I really like lately Sabrina Carpenter's just been tearing it up, which is
Hmm.
insane because I've been a fan of her for a while. So like I've ventured out to like more pop artists. And Charlie XCX has a very distinct voice and a distinct style in
Hmm.
her music. You can even hear it when she does features. I think my favorite feature that she's done was on a song with Ty Dolla Sign that I don't think I can name on this podcast because it's not an explicit podcast. Uh, but I just find the song to be absolutely hilarious. And her in the song, it's her, Ty Dolla Sign, I think Tiana Taylor. So if you look them up, look at your own risk because it's funny, but it's also can't really say it on the podcast. But um, and she still brought her unique style to to his song. And so I think for me on this album, the song I like the most has to be So I. In fact, I was just listening to it before we came on. And So I to me is the best one because I love the emotional depth that she's speaking from, as well as I like a lot of the production that went into it, and it felt kind of more like it was like a ballad, but not really. It was kind of like an electro ballad, if I could say, because it still had the elements of electro pop, but it was kind of
Hmm.
slowed down, kind of subdued, so we could really understand what she was talking about. And some of the
Hmm.
lines in there were just incredible. Like you had the power like a lightning strike, like that's a perfect simile, to describe that. Uh, and so many different things that just they hit differently, like they hit differently. I feel like on this song, so this one is a standout for me. With the whole album, I think I definitely agree. It's definitely a album that really I feel like it pushes because the little bit I know about electro pop and dance pop, I feel like it's pushing the envelope of electro dance pop. You know what I mean? Like she's doing
Hmm.
something unique, she's doing something different that's really kind of meant to drive it forward. And I think that's extremely impressive.
Absolutely. I think I think for me in that space, I don't hear as much depth from, like, say, the storytelling of it. It feels more focused on the vibe, and Charlie has her finger on the pulse here. Like she understands the vibe to bring, but there's many tracks that I love for the storytelling that she puts on place. Like in Sympathy is a Knife, you know, she's so self-conscious and jealous over this other woman that it leaves her feeling, at war with herself, to the even to the extreme that she talks about buying a gun and killing herself uh with it lyrically. She's very, very open about being a bad friend, like a really bad and jealous friend.
Hmm.
Um, Girl So Confusing really gets into the difficulties of navigating the music industry and how tough it can be to gauge the genuine interest of other people. Are you being fake? Are you being real? How difficult that is in an industry where you can be rewarded for being fake.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think about it all the time is a really nice pre-closer where she talks about her feelings of motherhood and how it feels like she's coming to terms real time of that being something that she wants for herself later down the line with her fiance. And then, like, even I might say something stupid, feels like Charlie's at her most self-conscious, unsure of herself as being able to be in any kind of spotlight, feeling like she's just built to blend into the background, which it feels almost crazy to hear her talk like that on an album that is so, like, forward. Like, it is so, like, it feels like this is a spotlight. And but it goes to show, when you're feeling self-conscious, it can feel hypocritical almost, to be able to put out such, spotlight attention grabbing music while also still feel unworthy of it and feel like you're just deserving to be of the background. And for me, blending all of these different themes and these really personal stories into just solid, solid dance music is incredible. Like,
Yeah.
it's not something that I think for me is too deep in that way. Like,
Hmm.
I think in some ways this album is, if you try to pick it apart like some concept album, it falls apart. Like, it loses the meaning if you try to over analyze it in that sense. But I think there's enough there to where her lyrics feel fulfilling, and the vibe and the energy she gives off with the with the instrumentation, it's so satisfying and so fun, and that's all it feels like it needs to be, and she captures it perfectly.
Yeah. And it's quite amazing that she was able to like you said, blend all those, because like all those themes that you mentioned, like if you mention those themes without mentioning the genre of this album, I don't think anyone would guess that it was a electro pop dance album. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
if you said like, yeah, there's themes of, I mean, it's themes of suicide, themes of friendships, themes of motherhood, themes of fakeness in the music industry, you would probably go to like, oh, this sounds like more of like a deeper, like you almost think like Billie Eilish type of instrumentation. Like you think like this is like a kind of a more introspective like music genre.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone tells you like, yeah, but you could dance to any of those songs. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, what? I wasn't
Really?
expecting that. Like, really? Like that doesn't really, I wouldn't have guessed that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is a very powerful explanation of how you can say whatever you need to be said in various different genres. Like, there's not like one genre in order to express the thought that you are thinking or the feelings or the emotions that you're having. So I think that in itself is very powerful. And so you mentioned that like this album so how does this album compared to Charlie? Because I know you loved Charlie, and just to kind of compare, like, because that came out 2019, right? Or was it 2016? I'm not sure.
uh 19, I believe.
19? Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Let me quadruple check.
Yeah, of
Uh,
course. We like to be accurate on King Whale's album review party.
yeah, it was 2019.
2019. Okay. Okay. So
Because in
how do you
2016, she was still in like her Suckers era.
Suckers? Okay. Because I
Wasn't
don't
that
remember when that single came out that was with her and Iggy Azalea, and that was the one that kind of helped like rocket her, like the breakout single. I don't remember exactly when that was.
right? Fancy. I don't
Yeah,
remember when Fancy came out. Let me see, because that was definitely my first introduction.
to her. Yeah.
Yeah, as a lot of people. Let me see.
Yeah, I think that was most people's introduction to her. Um, feels like Iggy Azalea hasn't done anything in a
20,
while anyway. But
2014.
2014. Oh wow.
Because I remember
That's
being in high
crazy.
school. I remember being in high school for it.
That's crazy. Wow, time is flying by. That's 10 years ago. That was 10 years ago. Fancy came out 10 years ago.
If
What?
you didn't feel old before, you're
Right.
gonna
I'm
start
pretty
feeling
sh
old now.
and I'm pretty sure 2014 has been around the time I dropped like one of my first mixtapes. I've been doing this for like 10 years. Anyway, sorry, got a little off track there. Time is a crazy thing. So how do you feel like that? Do you feel like, I guess, do you feel like she's grown since Charlie, or um if not, like, do you feel like she's grown since Charlie? And if so, in what ways? Maybe.
I I think in the way that she produces her sound, there's a there's a refining that I feel like I hear in Brat as compared to Charlie. And it's something that I think Charlie still feels futuristic to this day, despite being released in 2019, because there's some choices with like how they produce her sound and how they even like play with like the auto tune of her voice in ways that are I can only really describe as like say sharp or angular, and it feels more unique than say Brat is. Brat feels
Mhm.
more approachable in that way, where whereas Charlie feels like it had these like instrumentation breaks at points where it felt like this almost like this cacophony of noise that Brat doesn't feel like it has. Brat feels like a little more trimmed. And I really appreciated those things for Charlie, but in this sense, it feels like she like experimented with a bunch of sounds that she wanted to see where she could pursue, and then it felt like she pursued them in a cleaner and more perhaps more traditional way by
Mhm.
sanding off some of the harsher edges to make Brat, but still keeping like the visionary parts that I think I really appreciated from Charlie. I think Charlie is still the thing that I would look back to and say that is where she was really breaking out and experimenting. But I think I just have more fun with Brat personally. Like I think its
Okay.
highs are a little bit higher, both in the emotional stakes and in the like the pure amusement and joy of listening to it.
Yeah.
Because she had a peak with like how there was How I'm Feeling Right Now, which was right after Charlie beginning of COVID pandemic, which was really good. And then there was Crash, which was very different, but I still really loved. Um, and this just feels like her going back into that style, just polishing it up a little bit more.
Yeah. And it's really cool when you can notice the way an artist has grown and evolved and seen like their music change. Um and it could just, sometimes it's by events that happen in your life, sometimes it's by them growing up, and sometimes it's just by them exploring new themes and new genres. And so she was never an artist that I like really got into. Um but I feel like even I can tell based upon what she's trying to do with this album. I feel like
Mhm.
even I can tell, you know. So
So how does this sit for you as like an introduction or like a a an exposure to like electro pop? Like how does this make you feel about the genre? Like does this feel representative of what you understand? Does it make you want to look into it more? Like where does it sit with you?
I think it kind of, it's like for the most part, like if I'm driving in my car, like I could hear this being played at a club, but I'm also
Mm-hmm.
not really like a club person.
Mm-hmm.
So, like if I'm just driving in my car, like I said, So that's a song that I would put on like a playlist on, one of my, many playlists that I have for whenever I'm driving to Florida, and just listen to. Um, I know for a lot of the songs, it feels like if I'm not like jumping up and down and like bouncing to it, I'm not really doing it right. Like it's almost like hard to get into if I'm not dancing. And so like I listen to a lot of music in the car, like as most people do, because that's kind of where you listen to music.
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of like I was driving and I was like, I feel like I should be dancing, but like I can't like do the dance moves I want to do. I know it's kind of weird to like describe
Mm-hmm.
it when I hear it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
Being in a
like
car is too confining for what you want to do.
yeah, I'd say you can't confine Brat into a car. Like if you're listening to Charlie
Mm-hmm.
XX, put it on while doing the dishes or something, so that way you can, do like really get into it while you can, like not while you're just like sitting down. So I think that might have changed the experience for me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think for me, it's like I'm not going to compare her music to jazz necessarily because like obviously it's extremely extremely different. But I
Mm-hmm.
know there are some people like I love jazz. Whenever I listen to it, I can pick apart exactly what's going on, what's happening with the melodies, with the chord structures. I cannot do that with like heavy metal. Like after a
Mm-hmm.
little bit, it all just starts sounding like noise. But
Mm-hmm.
like my wife is kind of the opposite. Like while she doesn't love like a bunch of heavy metal and stuff, she can still like pick it out and see like what they're trying to do. Like I think she's more of a fan of punk than she is of heavy metal.
Mm-hmm.
But for her, jazz just all kind of starts to sound like the same thing. And like it just kind of like blends together. And she's like, I only go because my husband is performing whenever she
Mm-hmm.
comes to like a jazz show or something, which is very sweet of her. And so that's just the effect that different genres have on different people. And so, like
Mm-hmm.
I said, I think if you're someone who doesn't like electro pop or doesn't like feels that way about it, it won't be hard for it to like eventually start to sound like I'm not going to say noise, but it kind of blends together like just the basic synths. Like I remember when I was listening, I think this reason why I picked So I is because I think So I is one of the most like diverse tracks. It's one of it stood out to me, based
Mm-hmm.
upon its production, partly because it's a little more subdued. But it was like it blended with the album, but it still was able to stand out. And it was like, oh wow, I'm listening to this song now. Like, oh, this is cool. Like it
Mm-hmm.
caught my attention in that way because it felt very different from a lot of the other tracks on the album.
Mm-hmm.
So like, is this gonna get me into electro pop? I think we'll have to see. The jury jury's still out on that. I need to listen to this a couple more times. I feel like I need to listen to some other of Charlie XCX's projects because I've
Mm-hmm.
listened to there was one song that she had that I really liked. I'm trying to remember what album it's from, but it was her track Gone. And I
From
think it's
Charlie.
from yeah, from Charlie. Was it
Mhm.
from Charlie the album?
Yes. It was
Okay.
the second track.
Yeah. Yeah. And that song I know I really liked. I think that's probably one of my top songs by her, right
Mm-hmm.
next to um So I. Sorry, my brain just like for a second. So that's probably one of my favorite ones next to So I, just
Mm-hmm.
because and it still fit like, the pop style the electro pop dance style that she usually goes with. Um and like I like So I because it's more subdued, but this one like Gone isn't subdued, and I still liked it. I liked it for the synths. I liked it for the thumpingness of it. And I also started listening to How I Got Over and there not How I Got Over. That's by the Roots.
That's the I was
How I'm
about to
Feeling.
say, like,
Yeah. Oh, oh, whoops.
bit of a left
Very
turn
different
there.
albums. Would be really fun to listen to How I Got Over than How I'm Feeling Now. That should be an experiment that we do someday. Um, but I like some of the tracks on how how I'm feeling now too. I don't think they stood out as much as like So I and Gone.
Hmm.
But I know 7 Years, I was enjoying that one a little bit. Same with Forever. So I think her fourth album is probably the most for like a non-fan of dance pop. If you're looking to get into it, I think her fourth album, How I'm Feeling Now, is a good place to kind of start and then go into like Charlie and then to Brat and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, because it kind of, I'm not gonna say like eases you into it, but it does kind of ease you into it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I definitely think she's at the top of her game in that dance pop genre. Um, I mean, like you said, you feel like she's the top pop artist right now, and that is heavy praise. I'm like, I almost like feel like I need to make a list. Um, but yeah, yeah, I think for anyone getting into it, I'd recommend How I'm Feeling Now and then going into Brat because I feel like that's a good like transition. But of course, if you're already a fan of dance pop, you will absolutely love Brat. And I feel like especially if you grew up in like in where she's from, because she's from England, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. And I feel like she really captures like you know what this album reminds me of? There's a movie called Fighting with My Family featuring that I didn't realize Florence Pugh was in it until like after I saw Black Widow and then I was like, "Oh wait, that was Florence Pugh." But it's
Hmm.
about this girl who wants to become a wrestler with her family and she's like living in England and she's like a rebellious like English like this album reminds me of that movie because I feel like she captures a lot of her culture as well from England in her songs.
Hmm.
Like Ed Sheeran is a fantastic artist, but sometimes I listen to him and I forget that he's like British. Like he kind of just like the way he sings, it sounds like he's talking about like what it's like in America. Like he sounds like a very almost American artist if you listen to him a lot. But with I feel like with Charlie XCX, like I can hear the English, the England, growing up in England, styles in her music. I feel like I can hear it. And I like and it's not just the accent. Like it's deeper than that. So I think that's
Yeah.
very impressive as well.
Yeah, because she definitely captures a sound that I have no personal exposure to living in the United States and
Hmm.
not in England. But there is a dance club scene in the UK that she absolutely captures from from the music that I have listened to. It feels like she is capturing that same energy. And so
Agreed.
in some ways this album almost doesn't feel like in that sense it doesn't feel like it's for someone like me who has no exposure to that specific scene, but it also feels like it's for everyone. Like it doesn't feel inaccessible. It feels very accessible to everyone.
Yeah. I think I would have to agree with that. So man, I guess any final thoughts on Brat, Charlie XCX, how I'm feeling now? I guess how are you feeling now?
I right
That
now
was lame. That was lame.
I'm
I'm sorry,
feeling
guys. I apologize.
I'm feeling like it's going to be a Brat summer.
Feel like it's gonna be a Brat
It's
summer.
gonna be
Okay.
this is the vibe of the summer. We're partway through it. I'm gonna carry it with me for the rest of the year. I
All
need to get
right.
my lime green. I need to get my lime green fit going, and I'll be all set.
I mean, hey, that's heavy competition because, the person who's kind of dominating 2024 summer, like, now that we're past the Kendrick beef, Sabrina Carpenter is kind of ripping it up right now with Espresso and Please, Please, Please. So it'll be interesting to see how well Brat does compared to, I mean, those are totally different spectrums of pop as well. Like they're both
Yeah,
in pop, but Carpenter is more of like a disco sultry pop, which I feel like is a lot more what's the word accessible or like convertible. You're- Like it lends itself more to
Incredible.
popular, you know, I guess easier. I don't know. I
I
don't know
could
the
I
right word
could
for
I
it.
could show Sabrina Carpenter to my mom quicker than I could show Charlie XCX to my mom.
Right. Right. So, um, but her album doesn't come out till August. And so it'll be very interesting to see how the rest of the summer shapes up because
Mhm.
like I said, I definitely feel like Kendrick kind of had May pretty much with Not Like Us. But now I'm like, is it gonna shift to Charlie or because like Sabrina Carpenter's pretty much dominated June. So but now it's a new month. We're officially in July, and we'll see if maybe Brat climbs to the top. Who knows?
Maybe we'll see.
All right. So next week, I already mentioned it on the podcast. We are definitely going to cover Samurai by Lupe Fiasco coming next week.
Because how could we not?
I mean, how could we not? And
How
I
could
also
we?
just there was another album that just came out that I thought we should cover. Oh, Childish Gambino, Donald Glover came out with Out of Vista, and then he's
Mhm.
coming out with another album in August. So we'll
Oh,
have to
okay.
look into that as well. Yeah, because I mean, Childish Gambino like really takes it back to like 2011 camp. Man, good times.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but next week we're going to be covering Samurai by Lupe Fiasco. So if you haven't heard it yet, it just dropped last week. Check it out. I wanted to cover it like the day it came out, and then I was like, "That's not. It's Lupe Fiasco. You know that's not going to work." And I'm like,
It,
"I know. I just wanted to like try it to see if it was
the
possible."
excitement, the
Yeah,
excitement
I
is
got I
there.
got too excited for it. Um, so yeah, so that won't be possible. However, because you need time to digest his projects. Like you can't just drop it, you know. So we will be covering that next week, and then after that, we'll see. I don't know if his album because Gambino has an album coming out, so I don't know if we'll do Adavisa the week after or closer to that album coming out. But we got some exciting reviews coming. Hopefully, this live will be a little bit easier because I'm like trying to like if I seem distracted, I was trying to like navigate both of them at the same time, and it is interesting.
It's
So
still a work in progress. We're getting our sea legs
right,
developed.
right. So this is why I'm glad we did this one because, like, again, with Samurai, I'm gonna have a lot more to say. We're gonna have a lot more to go into, and I want people to be able to. So this was a good album for like working out the kinks of going live, and then that way, if people want to comment on it, they can. So thank you guys so much for joining, and we will see you next time.
Please listen to Brat.
Please, please.